Hi everyone, so today we are talking all about olive skin, and I wanted to sit down and talk with you about this because I think there are still, despite so much more information being out there about olive skin, and I think people have done a really good job of bringing more attention to olive skin and things like that, despite all of that, I still think that there are some sort of misconceptions or things that I sort of want to speak on that just from my experience with having olive skin myself, obviously, and also, of course, with all of my clients, my color analysis clients, I just realized some things about olive skin that I think may be worth mentioning in case you haven't heard of them. So the first thing is that it's the most common skin tone. Olive skin is actually incredibly common, and most of East Asia is olive skin. Everyone in China, I mean, like most people in China, are probably olive unless they're incredibly light, in which case they can be rosy. But most people in China, most people in India, I would say really probably almost everyone in India. So think about just the amount of population of the world that is actually olive. Of course, anyone who is from maybe like Thailand or anything from, sort of like in Asia, a lot of people are just olive. Like the majority, probably over 90%, are olive. Of course, not literally everyone. There are always exceptions, but it's a very common skin tone. And actually, a lot of people, even who are just in the U.S., can sometimes lean a little bit olive, which can be surprising. Now, they're not as olive as people from these regions that I just discussed, but they can be. They can lean a little bit olive. Of course, people from the Middle East are often olive. People from South America are very often olive as well. People from Mexico, people from South America, people from the Middle East, and people from Iran, just Syria, Lebanon, like everything like that. A lot, pretty much all olive. So if you think about that, that's really the majority of the population is actually olive. And for people from Africa, it's very diverse. You can either be olive or you can be very like rosy, and in that case, if your skin tone is deeper, you're actually more reddish in tone. What I found from some of my clients from Africa, because I have clients from all over the world, right? Because I do virtual color analysis, and so I mean, some people are really, they can have very reddish tones to their skin and they're very deep, and some people can have more olive tones to their skin, they can be very deep. And so Africa is kind of a total wild card of an area in terms of olive versus rosy, and there isn't really a trend there. There isn't like everyone tends to lean rosy or everyone tends to lean olive. But in other parts of the world, the majority of the world, really, olive. Very much olive. And that's the thing, is that I think that there's a lot of excitement about being olive in a way, and that people are thinking that olive is somehow exotic or something like that. It's somehow like interesting to be olive. It's really not that interesting. It's very common. It's the most common skin tone. Actually, if you're rosy, you're probably in the minority. So yeah, you may not be in the minority in the area that you live, but you are in the minority in the world. So that's the first thing I wanted to get out of the way, is that olive is very common, and it's incredibly common. It really is. So the next thing I want to get out of the way is olive skin does not mean tan skin. So a lot of people think that olive has to do with the depth of skin, or somehow, I think, to be a little bit fair, right? Olive has been kind of traditionally known as being more from the Middle East kind of thing, and people from the Middle East can have kind of medium depth skin tones. Some of them have very light skin tones, some of them have some deeper skin tones, but they're usually medium depth. And so I can see why olive has been connected to the depth of skin, but olive and the depth of skin, like how light or dark your skin is versus whether you're olive or not, are two completely almost unrelated things. There is a special case where it is related, in that if you're incredibly light, you probably can't be olive because you're really pretty rosy because of just like your skin, those people who are like very translucent almost, and they're so light that you can almost see like the reds and the blues that are just like almost like the capillaries and everything. Like that's how translucent that they are, and then in that case they don't look very olive because they look a bit more rosy. But that's like so incredibly rare. that maybe it wasn't even really like terribly relevant. You know, that's how rare that is. But most people are really going to be, you know, who are anywhere in any sort of average skin tone range. Even if you are incredibly light, you can be olive or you can be rosy. It really doesn't matter. And olive and rosy are the two differences. It has nothing to do with cool or warm. It has to do with red and green. And cool or warm has to do with yellow and blue. And so when it comes to rosy versus olive, you can be rosy or olive, and you can be light or dark, and it doesn't really matter. And so it has nothing to do with having medium depth skin. And just because you're very light, like for example, a lot of people from China or Japan are incredibly light, obviously, and they are olive. And they definitely have a lot of olive tones to their skin. They have a lot of yellow tones to their skin, and a lot of the time that kind of sometimes, like when you take photos as someone with olive skin, your skin can have almost like a yellow tone to it, you see. And now it may make sense to you that a lot of people from East Asia, they have some of that yellow tone, right? But that's the olive, because the olive has yellow and blue, which is green, right? And so that's actually them having an olive skin tone, is people from East Asia. Just not looking rosy, maybe looking a bit more greenish, looking a bit more yellowish. That's olive. That's a lot of people. And so they're very light. They are not medium depth in skin tone at all. They're very light. So being olive has nothing to do with being light or deep. You can be deep as well, like medium. Maybe Rihanna is kind of like medium deep. I have a whole video on Rihanna's color analysis if you want to check that out. But she is also olive, by the way. Yeah, and she's kind of medium deep in the grand scheme of things, maybe medium in terms of her skin tone. But you know, you can also have olive people who have a bit deeper skin tones. Yeah, so you can be olive and be really any depth of skin. And now the last thing I want to talk about is that it's not easy being olive, especially cool olive. Cool olive people have a very narrow range of color options. And the reason for that is because the skin tone is not terribly forgiving, actually, especially if you're cool olive. And if you're cool olive, you are going to look green instead of red. And usually you want to look peachy or reddish. That's why we put blush on. That's why we put lipstick on, because we want to have some reds to our skin that can usually look a bit healthier than looking green or yellow. So when olive people wear colors that are unflattering, it becomes incredibly obvious. And a lot of colors are not very forgiving, especially if you're cool olive. Not only do you have what I just discussed about looking greenish or something, or yellowish in an unhealthy way, you don't have any of those reds to your skin that are gonna like pull through and like kind of help you out a little bit. You're also, imagine if you're also cool toned, now you're looking at blues in your skin, and so, or like grays and blues, and those are also colors that we really don't associate with health. And a lot of cool tones, regardless of if they're olive or not, have a very hard time with colors. Cool tones really cannot wear warm colors. And this is why a lot of color analysts believe that most people are cool toned. In my opinion, people are all over the place, and people can be cool or warm. There aren't more warm people than cool people, or vice versa, but the people who come to see color analysts are often cool toned, because those are the people who are going to have a lot more trouble with color. If you are warm toned, you can really pull off some cool colors, but if you're cool toned, you cannot pull off warm colors at all. So imagine if you're cool toned olive, you know, you look green, you look yellow, or you look blue, or you look gray, you know, instead of looking maybe more warm and golden or peachy or whatever, you're going to look all of those other things in colors that are unflattering. So if you are a cool olive, it's really particularly difficult. And it's particularly confusing too, because you can appear warm. You see, if you're cool olive, you can appear warm because of like the yellows of the skin, or because people who are really very uneducated on color analysis, like just, you know, maybe like just the general population or something, may actually believe that if you are someone who looks like me, let's say, you're actually warm toned. Now I'm cool toned, I am not warm toned. And, that can be confusing for people who just are not aware that olive does not mean warm. It kind of goes this way. It goes that the general public who doesn't know anything about color analysis will say olive skin tones are always warm because you look warm, because like, aren't you like from a warm climate? Like, right? I don't know. But on the other hand, people who are now knowing a little bit more about olive skin, they're going to start to say, well, no, all olive skin is cool. No, well, that's not, neither are true. Olive skin can be cool or warm. Okay, and that's just the reality of it. It's not as interesting as, maybe saying all olive skin is cool. And some people say olive skin is cool because it has blue to it, because green has blue, but every skin color has some blue to it. Just because you have some blue to your skin, that does not obviously make you cool toned. And even if you have a dominance of green to your skin, that still will not make you cool toned, because that green can be cool or warm. That green can be a warm olive green, or it can be like a cool emerald green, you see? And that's why olive skin can be either warm or cool. Even if you have a green dominance to your skin, that does not make you cool toned. Just because the green has some blue in it, if you mix paint to make green, green is made of blue and yellow, that does not mean necessarily that you have cool skin or warm skin, because again, green has both yellow and blue, so it really depends on that green. If you're olive and warm, again, your olive tone leans more yellow. If you're olive and cool, your olive tone leans more like a grayish green, or maybe like an emerald green kind of thing. Anyway, so that's it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me some comments down below if you are olive, and let me know what you guys do for foundation. Oh, and this is a tip that, of course, I heard a long time ago at this point, but it's worth mentioning again in case you missed it. If you are olive and you want to expand your foundation options, adding some green color drops to your foundation is going to do wonders, and it's so much easier to find foundation. Because if you're picky about formulas, you don't have to only get olive foundations. You can get really any foundation and add some green color drops to it, and maybe that will kind of fix up the color balance to be more greenish. And the green color correctors are usually the ones that are used to correct redness, so you can just add a little bit of green to your foundation that is originally kind of more like rosy looking, if you like that formula, and that will help. That will make your foundation more of a match to you. So yeah, leave me a comment down below and let me know. Give each other some tips about what kinds of makeup tricks you guys use, what kinds of foundations you guys use, and things like that down below. And I will talk to you. Oh, and if you want to book with me, of course, you can take a look at the link below on how you can book a color analysis and like body typing, things like that with me. And you can take a look on how to do that. And that's it. I will talk to you next time. Okay, bye.